Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. I'm your host, Juan Ayala, and this is Actors with Issues. Today, we speak with actor, writer, and director Michael D. Cohen from the Nickelodeon series Henry Danger and Danger Force. This interview was recorded on June 21st, prior to the SAG-AFTRA strike. Michael D. Cohen, thank you so much for being on the show. Welcome to Actors with Issues.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So, you've been in this business for quite a bit, and you've sort of done, at least looking at your resume and your IMDb list and all of that, you have tackled almost every facet of the industry in terms of genre and role. So, I'm curious, growing up, what was it that you like? Was there a particular genre that you wanted to do? Did you know, like, I want to do comedy or I want to be a dramatic actor, or was it more so whatever comes my way, I am happy to take?
Well, I was definitely drawn to comedy. Most people who I talk to, I talk about Carol Burnett and her influence on me as a young kid, and that definitely mirrored my sensibility and who I was and all of that, and it was quite influential for me to watch that show. And then, of course, other comedies that came along after that. I just really grew to develop this love for, not just theater and film, but also television in a particular way. So yeah, I definitely, it was comedy, but I also knew that, I loved just the whole art form of acting, performance. So yeah, I enjoy doing all of it, and comedy in particular is my niche.
And again, sort of looking at everything you've done between, animation and voiceover to drama and sitcoms. And is there anything you haven't done yet that you really want to tackle? Any sort of subgenres?
That's a really good question. No, I don't think so. I feel like I just want to keep doing what I'm doing and do more challenging and roles. I would love to do, it's more like who I want to work with at this point. I
Right.
feel like there's a lot of people that I'd love to have the opportunity and privilege to work with. But in terms of genre, I'm like, yeah, I'm open. I feel like I've gotten a really great buffet of things to do.
Mm. So who's on that acting partner bucket list?
Oh gosh. Well, the greats in terms of acting, like, Meryl Streep or, people like that I admire. And then there's a number of actors I could go on about, and just, like the Robert De Niro. I mean, the classics, right?
Yeah.
And then, Chuck Lorre in terms of television, and Judd Apatow, and there's some people unfortunately who passed that, like Gary Marshall. Oh my gosh, like that kind of thing. So people, Ron Howard, he's obviously still around. Of course, Spielberg. So I'm sounding very cliche in my dreams, but I mean, ideally, I just want to work with the masters. I want to work with
Yeah.
people that are really at the absolute top of their game and the industry, and just watch and sponge it in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know many actors who are like, no, I don't really want to work with Meryl Streep or with, I'm like, come on, liar. Like, come on. Who
Well,
doesn't,
they may not only because they'd be so intimidated,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, oh my God, it'd be too terrifying. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm up for that. I'll deal with my fear.
Yeah.
I know I'll be like, but I would just, what an incredible privilege that would be.
Yeah. And with your acting studio, the Michael D. Cohen Acting Studio, is there anything that you instill in your students, having been in the business for as long as you have, sort of as they start to embark on their career journey?
Okay, well, how many hours do we have to talk? This is a 5 hour interview, right? Interview podcast, 5 hour podcast. The people that I tend to teach, they tend to be people who are working actors or are embarking on being working actors. So they tend to have some sort of foundation, whether it's helpful for them or not. Some people come and go, I just want to unlearn everything and start over. But the main thing that I work on is a kind of a holistic approach to acting, which means really dealing with the mind, the body, the spirit, the emotions, all of that, everything that we are, that we've encountered, that we've experienced in our life. That is our material. That's our clay. And this instrument, this is our instrument. Like, we don't, musicians have external, like, a piano or a guitar. Well, we play this. and we need to know, what octaves are we weak in? Is rage an octave that I'm weak in? Is compassion an area that I need to develop, because I can't really, I find a hard time showing that in characters. So it's about expanding the range and understanding where the range is at and where you want to go and what's blocking that expression. And we all have blocks. We all have areas where we're always growing. So I find that I'm able to really, in the most respectful way I possibly can, help other actors to identify what those areas of blockage are and then transform that. So the slug for my studio is from blocks to brilliance, transforming blocks into brilliance. So that's the idea, is that these blocks that we hold, these areas where we're not able to express, that's actually, they're gifts. They're gifts waiting to be unwrapped, that just give so much back to you once you shine light on it and have understanding. And then of course that mirrors our life. It's not just acting, where we can shed light on our acting. Obviously it's going to impact our life and vice versa. So yeah, and I have this, I'm going to be teaching an acting retreat at the end of July, and that's, I call it a breakthrough weekend, which is where we really focus on this. It's a lot of fun. It's not like, deep, heavy work all the time. It's just really just looking at where we're all at and how to transform that to the next level. And I find that an intensive out in nature is the best way to do those kinds of things.
And with, how much the industry has changed, not just like in the last 20 years, but also like just the last 10. I always say, like, I feel like Netflix wasn't really around in its current form in like 2010. Back then it was still DVDs. I don't know if people remember that. But
They stopped that service. They just stopped the DVD service, apparently. Like, you still have it? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Anyway,
But
I'm sorry, you're saying.
yeah, but what have you noticed has maybe been the biggest change about like an actor's experience over the last few years?
Well, the business has definitely changed. Obviously, since COVID, self tapes
Mhm.
is probably the most, immediate change that you can see, going from being in the room with the casting director to sending tapes in and feeling very disconnected from the process.
Mhm.
You don't feedback, you don't get adjustments. So that, and yeah, it's proliferated, the stations, the material, the amount of work that's out there has obviously gone up, because now there's hundreds of different projects, where there used to be 3 networks and 4 networks and 5 networks, and then that was it, and then cable happened. So there's been a big change in the structure of the industry. So that definitely affects how much work and then there was a time where film actors didn't do TV, and there was a lot more work for actors to do guest star roles, and that has since been taken over by cameos and that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, it's been a very rapidly changing industry, and it definitely trickles down to the actors. And we have to adapt. We just have to keep adapting.
And with how tumultuous an actor's journey can be, and sort of the ups and downs and all those peaks and valleys. I'm curious, was there ever a time that you thought like, okay, I gave this a try, it's time to change to something else? Or did you like know that you had to stick it out and that this is what we signed up for? Is that sort of not knowing what's next?
I don't think I've ever really questioned it. I just always knew that this is what I wanted to do, and it one of the things I say to my students, especially when I'm teaching, university class or something like that, is find a side hustle, find something that you really, really, really love, that besides acting, that you can freelance at. If you're good at carpentry, if you're good at building guitars, if you're good at bookkeeping, like whatever it is, find that, develop that, so that you never have to go, oh my God, I need this acting job to pay the rent. Uh, you always have something there. And a lot of parents, traditionally in the past have said, well, get a professional degree, be a lawyer or a doctor. Well, it's very hard to make that a side hustle.
Right.
I don't know. I'm
Part-time
I'm an
doctor. I
actor,
don't.
but I have a side hustle as legal, as a lawyer or an attorney. The demands are just too much. You have to find something that you can create your own schedule on. And when you do that, it frees your creativity up. You can actually think of yourself as an artist, and that your source of money comes from somewhere else. And it definitely, if you can make a living being an actor and you have money coming in, awesome. But it's not, you can still focus on your calling, which I think it is. It's not like we choose that. It chooses us. And then you
Yeah.
have to follow it or you don't feel true to yourself.
And I'm a firm believer that with any role we take on, whether it's a co-star or obviously like with a series regular or a lead, that there is always something to be learned. We are constantly learning as artists. So I'm curious, throughout the many years you've been part of sort of the world of Henry Danger and all of those, like the series and the spin-offs and all of that, how have you changed during that time? What have you learned during that time period?
Oh my gosh, yeah, a lot. I mean, we started in 2014. Yeah, well, the pilot was shot in I think 2013. I didn't do the pilot. I came later.
Mhm.
But 2014 till 2023, it's almost a decade. I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot about the business. I learned a lot about myself, how to deal with the business, what my priorities are, how networks work. During that time, I was able to get a writing credit, write one of the episodes. With the obviously with the writers' room, and I had a
Mhm.
co-writer, Andrew Thomas, on our Manly Man episode. I got to direct multiple episodes, and then I got to direct also with me in it. So I'm directing and acting in the show. So all of that was an incredible training ground.
Yeah.
Uh, and being on a show and being on set 5 days a week for the duration of whatever it is, 13 episodes, 26 episodes, there's no better practice for acting. There's no better way to hone your craft. So I feel like I'm a much better actor now after, being able to practice for almost a decade, almost daily. So yeah, I could go on and on. Um, it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to have that kind of intensive learning, immersed experience.
And are you interested in sort of continuing those other facets of writing and directing, or
Oh, definitely.
maybe
Yeah.
developing a show?
Yeah. I've got a couple shows that I've already developed and pilots are written, and we're about to go and pitch them, and there's a strike.
Right.
so
Oh gosh.
so I have them ready to go. Have, pitch decks going and all that. Um, and I've got a feature that I'm writing and I hope to direct. I plan to direct. I will direct. You got to got to use the language to support
Yeah.
yourself. Um, so absolutely. I mean, directing feels like it just feels so natural for me. It feels like everything that I've ever done kind of came together and converges in directing. And I never want to let go of acting. Writing is also just another extension. If I'm not writing, I just don't feel good. Feel like something's off. So all of those things are really important to me.
It is a bit of a scary time right now for a lot of folks in our community, with all the legislation coming out that's anti-LGBT, anti-trans, and all of that. So for any young queer actors out there who might be a bit nervous to celebrate this year, or to come out, because that's still kind of a scary thing, not just to come out in your everyday life and to people around you, but in on an acting level, what words of encouragement do you have for them?
Oh, stay true to yourself. It isn't always safe to do it. And you really have to look at, is my fear grounded in reality, or is it in reaction to things I'm thinking and hearing? And you really have to balance that out and get support. Don't do it on your own. Think, who can you talk to about this? Who can rally around you? Who will be your allies? All of that. And if there's nobody close, then reach out a little farther. There's, especially for young people, the Trevor Project, is amazing. PFLAG, the ACLU is doing incredible work. HRC, there's so many organizations, and they're, you can reach out to in different ways to different people to get support and get advice. And I really strongly encourage that. Just being whimsical and going, I'm going to come out now I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's also like, okay, really think it through. If you're in in an area of the country where it isn't that safe. And I'm not discouraging anybody from doing it. I'm just saying, stay true to yourself, like really follow your intuition and get guidance and get support. It's just unfathomable what's happening right now. I mean, I was just reading today, this is going to date this podcast, but I was reading today that Elon Musk basically banned the words cis and cisgender from Twitter. And if you use those in your posts, you're going to get suspended. But meanwhile, other people can use transphobic terms and attack, and they're not suspended. So, it's there's just a huge upheaval, and we need to stick together. We need to band together. We need to fight for what's right. At the same time, today I was reading that there were a number of court cases that won that rolled back the anti-trans legislation around gender affirming care. So there are wins being made. There are people out there who are sane and understand what this is. So we got to weather this out. We got to organize. We have to state our truth, rally support, and find our places of family. Yeah. It's a tough time. There's no question about it.
Yeah, but we're a very resilient community. It's not new with these issues we've been dealing with. I feel, it's been going on for a very long time. So yeah, I definitely think we just have to, like you said, organize, rally together, and just stick it out, and we'll come out on top.
We need to educate by being our best selves.
Yeah,
we have to. They go low, we go high. Obama said that. Now, sometimes people are like, "Oh, I just want to go low." Maybe sometimes there's a place for that. I don't know, but we need to be our best selves, make our best contributions. If there's something that is holding someone back from being all of who they are, shining their light, that is what needs to be addressed and fixed. And then we ourselves need to go, where am I holding myself back? Where am I not shining my light? And is it, out of fear? And how can I transform that so that I can shine my light? How can I be all of who I am? How can I contribute to my absolute best? And those are the questions we need to ask ourselves, and then plow the path.
Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and for talking with us all about the issues. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to Actors with Issues on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and visit our YouTube channel for full video interviews. Actors with Issues is executive produced and hosted by Juan Ayala. See you next time.